You're watching Force 13 live. Hurricane Leslie is moving ever nearer to the coast of the Iberian Peninsula at this hour. And that's what we've been showing in little bits here on the streaming service. We also have Cyclone Luban located off the coast of Oman, slightly stronger than last night, now up to 50 miles per hour. Rainfall expectations in Portugal and Spain, 1 to 3 inches according to the National Hurricane Centre. I should imagine that some models may suggest higher amounts. Just going to check that as you look at those wind speed probabilities there on your screen. And just looking at the HWRF model expectations, up to 4 inches possible in some parts of central Spain as the storm moves in. Of course, a very mountainous terrain. Leslie won't have very long once it does make landfall. And let's just see if we can bring up the latest imagery from the GOES 16 satellite, which I think will show to you that the storm is really starting to lose it in those latest frames. The National Hurricane Centre released an update just a few moments ago before we started this, and it reads like this. Leslie heading for the Iberian Peninsula in a hurry is its headline. Winds of 75 miles per hour, a pressure of 980 millibars, 37.3 north, 14.5 west. The tropical storm warning that was in effect for Madeira has been lifted, and you'll see at the bottom of the screen every so often what the warnings are issued by the authorities over there in Portugal, and the one province in Spain that has a wind-related warning. The whole of Portugal has a wind warning of some kind, on the mainland at least. So just reading out what it says here, I mean, not much really to talk about. It's expected to transition into a hurricane force post-tropical cyclone later today. Weakening is forecast after Leslie moves inland over the Iberian Peninsula later today or early Sunday, and the post-tropical cyclone is expected to dissipate on Sunday night or Monday. Hurricane force winds extend outwards up to 60 miles. And tropical storm force winds 205 miles. Given that it's only 279 miles from Lisbon, won't be very long until tropical storm force winds are felt on land. Of course, apart from wind and rain, this storm could also generate significant surf conditions, and that can cause life-threatening rip current conditions as well. Let's just go through all of those warnings that are currently in effect as well. You can see them at the bottom of the screen there. So there's a lot of wind related warnings, high waves, so I'll go through them as best I can. Red wind warnings, now that is for winds of, let's see here, let me just see if they're different for different areas. Okay, so as far as I can establish, not being familiar with the warning system in Portugal, the red wind warning means that there is a 65% chance of winds reaching 130 kilometers per hour, which is something like 75-80 miles per hour. And a 10% chance of winds reaching 180 kilometers per hour, which I don't think will happen. So red wind warnings in effect for a lot of those coastal areas from Aveiro downwards to Setúbal, including the capital Lisbon. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 provinces affected there, including the inland province, in fact not exclusively inland, but mostly inland, Santarém. Orange wind warnings denoting winds expected 120 kilometers per hour for a lot of those northern provinces. inland and along the coast for the rest of Portugal as well, and yellow wind warnings for 4 of the remaining provinces: Porto Alegre, Évora, Beja and Faro. In addition to this, high waves possible, and obviously the surf conditions as mentioned. I'm trying to read this here. I think they're talking about... Okay, I'm not too sure, so I won't speculate. But the red surf warning and high waves in effect for some of those coastal areas, Leiria, Setúbal once again, Lisbon and Coimbra. With the rain warnings in effect for pretty much all of Portugal at this time on the mainland as well. In Spain, there is only 1 wind warning as far as I can ascertain, at least in relation to the storm. In fact, there's now 2 in northwestern Spain, Orense and Lugo. Rain warnings in effect for a lot of those areas up there as well, and thunderstorm warnings for a lot of the southwestern part of Spain. It's 7 minutes past 1 here in the UK. I believe Portugal shares that time zone. 7 minutes past 2 in Spain at this time. And as we've been looking at the storm's progression in those latest frames, we can note 2 things, I think. One of them is with its fast movement, nearly 40 miles per hour, it's been moving faster than expected, and we could be seeing landfall in the next 6 hours. And the second thing that we can note is that it's looking very dishevelled in those latest frames, and the convection might just be about to completely unravel. Let's see if we can look at the visible true colour imagery. There it goes. That dry area to the south of the storm there, the centre of circulation can't be far away from that. A wind shear is ripping it apart at the minute. The full force of the storm will still be significant even if that convection gets displaced, but the way it's looking there, Lisbon northwards could get a significant chunk of this storm, and its clouds associated with Leslie just about to reach land maybe in the next hour or 2. So this is what we're looking at this time. Hurricane Leslie, which has been around for, oh, I don't know, over 20 days, 21 days now. One of the longest lived storms in the Atlantic. Is about to reach its conclusion in a most odd of ways, I suppose. But I guess this is what Ophelia wanted to do last year but couldn't quite get there. If you have any questions for us, start your message with Force 13, all in text. There are 2 storms active around the world at this time, which is a welcome relief from the 10 or so that we had in the previous week. The other storm that we have out there is Luban. Luban looks like this, the track forecast there. Tropical storm landfall in Yemen, and the track forecast continues westwards. Tropical storm force winds just a few dozen miles off the coast of Salalah in southern Oman. And areas in Yemen could be seriously affected by the storm. Rainfall is probably still a significant threat there as well. Could be up to 600 millimeters of rain in some places in relation to Luban. And there again is another look at those latest floater images of Leslie. That's what's left of Sergio as well, by the way, in case you were wondering. This is the National Hurricane Center track on Leslie. Moved a bit further north than expected as well by the looks of things. And you can see the orange outline showing the wind field, how close it is to Portugal, and what's expected beyond. Really not much of an uncertainty when it comes to the track at this stage. This model runs slightly out of date, but even then it was pretty clear about the track. There's another look at Leslie as it is right now in the Atlantic. Nadine died earlier today. That area of convection to the west of the Cape Verde Islands is all that remains. And I think that's still Michael just off the coast of Newfoundland up there, blowing up into a significant extratropical cyclone. And on the left hand side, that bit of cloudiness there over Texas, that's Sergio. In the Eastern Pacific, there is a 40% chance of the next system forming in the next 5 days. That's the next 2 days, actually. In the next 5 days, I haven't actually checked that. The percentage is also 40%. Central Pacific's quiet. Western Pacific is quiet for once. And again, these are the chances of tropical storm conditions. 80% in the Lisbon area. It's certainly going to be an inclement evening over there. Given the storm's current movement, landfall will probably occur at about 6 or 7 p.m. local time and move into Spain a little bit later in the evening. But anywhere on this map that doesn't have a number attached to it is pretty much out of the chances for tropical storm conditions. That's how it currently reads.